they tell you that Pan, Dionysus, which is Osiris, Bacchus, Sphinx, Orpheus, and later on is Orythiel, and Eros is all one and the same entity. And Eros, you all know as Cupid, the little baby, you see. And that Cupid child is called Harpocrates in Egypt. That's Horus with the thumb in the mouth. Now, they say, well, why is it that Cupid or Eros or the baby Horus, or later on the baby Jesus, why is it that Cupid never grows up? They say because Cupid lives in a world that is governed by men's hearts. And as long as there is arrogance and ego in a certain world, he can never be allowed to grow up in that particular world, because to grow up in that world is to die, you see. So he has to retain his innocence, you see, and the only way he can do that is to not to grow up. And so he must live in this magical world. And that's what Michael Jackson did. He was the human embodiment of that Eros, Cupid, Peter Pan energy, you see, that refused to grow up in this particular case, come to the planet as a man-child, and then go in reverse. You see what I'm saying? So by the time you hit your 30s is when the time he hit his 30s, he started, actually his mid-20s, he started regressing. He started going into childhood, and that is to maintain that innocence that later on became his undoing, because the simple fact here is, and it was interesting, because in September, and it's interesting how things line up, because September of 2008, we asked the question to get it out of the way, did he sleep with those children? And the spirit world said absolutely not. You see what I'm saying? So the innocence.
And let me add on to that, because I don't want to forget this.
Yeah.
This is a transmission that is very important, and it picks up on what Bobby just said. Because I asked the same question: did you sleep with those motherfucking children? And I'll tell you the honest truth: I don't give a fuck if he did. Fuck humanity, and it had a small part in the scenario, but still asked him, and this is what he said. There was a tape by Credo Mutwa and David Icke. Now, Credo Mutwa on this tape told about a ritual that the ones in power that do. And what they do, they take a little girl who's kidnapped, scared to death. When she's scared to death, all these elixirs run out of every orifice of her body, in her aura, her essence. These elixirs come online. And what the old person does is he breathes in all these elixirs. He doesn't have sex with her. He lays in the bed with her. He lays in the bed with her all night, sucking off of her energy from the aspect of fear. Now, what Mike came through and told me, what he tapped into haphazardly was that same ritual, but the other side of that ritual. Based upon his innocence and his truth, he would lay in the bed with the kids, but they would give him the youth, that energy based upon his purity. So it was a gift for Mike.
And not only that, too,
his innocent heart.
The sister Ella, the same one that got the transmission of Orythiel, the sister Ella, who used to be real versed in the Bible. This woman has a library in the bottom in her parking garage, is envious of everything from Kemet and all. But she was well versed in the Bible, and she even told me that there's a part in the Bible where they talk about an old man putting a young girl in the bed with the old man to heal him. It's in the Bible.
It's a science. But the difference is Mike wasn't stealing their fear. He was given this gift of youth or eternal youth. Whether he knew it or not doesn't matter. He was in the bed because these kids who trusted him, based upon him bringing them into the fairy world, Neverland Ranch, while they was doing their bid on Earth, he was able to give them a part of that world, the Neverland world, as a gift. He would lay in the bed and get their energy to remain ever youthful and be the Michael Jackson that we all love to sing Beat It to.
And it's also prophesied in the book of Daniel that he would set over the children.
Well, I got that verse. Let me read the verse. Let me read the quote.
And the Bible verse.
Daniel 12:1, King James Version. And at the time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and shall be no time of trouble. There shall be a time of trouble. They say so. So in other words, they say Michael stands up for the children, and there'll be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation. So they telling you the whole nation is against this nigga, even to the same time that thy people shall be delivered. So at the same time, the people shall be delivered, and we talking about our chemical transformation. Michael the archangel will stand up, a great prince which stands for the children of thy people in a time of trouble. There's a whole nation against them. At the same time, the people shall be delivered.
Now, in Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi is looking at Luke Skywalker, and he's flying off to deal with his father, and he looks at him. He said, that boy is our only hope. And Yoda says, no, there is another. Now, what's his mama's name?
What's her name?
What's his mama? Michael Jackson's mother had two of them. She also had the one that I was crazy about, was Jermaine. He ended up being the most conscious.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? He ended up being the most conscious and the spokesperson. Now, Jermaine, look out for Jermaine, because it comes in twos. We talking about energies here now. The human don't have to do nothing. You see what I'm saying? And as you notice, if the Jackson 5, the Jackson 5 was two people, Michael and Jermaine coming in with the power. Jermaine was backing him up. Now, Elizabeth Clare Prophet pulled down an entity called Saint Germain. Saint Germain was a person that lived in the time of the Moors, and the Moors elevated him into this yogi-type saint figure. Later on, you can get books on Saint Germain. You see, Saint Germain elevated him into a figure. It's supposed to have been am I still on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Supposed to have been a European, but what it was, he was a child of the Moors. He had their seed, and he was elevated alchemically. He had their seed. He was born from a Moorish father, and he was elevated into a saint. So that same energy is in Jermaine Jackson.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You see,
now, we already figured out, too, a reflection of that would be New Edition. So Trezvant was the lead man, but Bobby Brown was supposed to be that Jermaine Jackson.
Right.
Was supposed to be that Jermaine Jackson energy.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked out well, but it was the same setup, the same mythology.
Right. Let me tell you how this thing is so beautiful. About a month ago, we bought a book. It's called Sedona Magazine. They've been out for years. They've been out since maybe the late 80s, early 90s, Sedona Magazine. And it's a magazine of all channel material. So each month or every quarterly or whatever, they would put out the Sedona Magazine, and they'd have their world channelers. Well, it's interesting that they would put this particular one out about a month ago on the ArchAngel Michael on the cover. And they got channels from the ArchAngel Michael and Raphael and Uriel and all the rest of them and stuff, but they also Metatron. But they got ArchAngel Michael on the cover, but guess what? The magazine is dated for June. You see, with ArchAngel Michael on the cover. So you need to go out and get that magazine, as well as Richard Webster's book on the ArchAngel Michael and all. But I'm saying to get all four books, because the simple fact is we're dealing with four levels of this thing. And you see, it's just some amazing stuff. We're talking about gateways opening up. You see.
Now, also, Michael said, he was quoted saying, his greatest song he ever made out of all the hits he made was that song, A Child's Heart. A Child's Heart. And it's an excellent song. And then, so what that tells you, he was always prophesizing his death. The Illuminati wasn't prophesizing his death. He was. To leave here with a child's heart. That's the gateway. In the Bible, you can't enter the kingdom but like a child. And a child shall lead them and all of this kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
And PN, if you drop the A, is also the pineal, the gateway. You know, we all seen Pan's Labyrinth. So that particular energy, the leprechaun and all of this type of thing, is the gateway. Even in the Peter Pan thing,